So here we are in the living room at night. My wife is watching a TV show, and I'm doing that thing where I'm kind of sort of watching. Maybe I'm 25% interested in the show at the most. So I'm mostly reading, but still kind of listening out of the corner. And then something happens on the TV, and I blurt out, "Wait a minute. Now, who is that guy?" And she pauses the TV, gives me the look. Really? If you're going to watch this, then watch it. Otherwise, quit asking me questions. And then, because she's kind, she'll answer me, mostly patiently. She'll rewind a little bit and then hit play again. And I'm sitting there thinking, retired and home all day, and my wife's had enough. Not of me as a person, but of this constant togetherness. That's not really together. And I didn't really see that coming. That's not something they tell you about retirement. The surprise isn't that we love each other. We do. We have nothing's changed there. It's just that being together all day exposes everything. And here's what I didn't understand. I thought retirement was going to feel like a reward, like we'd just enjoy each other even more. But more is tricky because when you're home all day, togetherness doesn't just mean more conversation. It also means more presence, being in the presence of each other all day. More chances to bump into each other literally and emotionally. More chances for little habits to be noticed. And I know how dramatic the title sounds. My wife's had enough. But if you've been married a long time, you know what I mean. It's not one big blow up argument, it's just the steady drip, drip, drip of small things that start to feel loud. And in our situation, this didn't start the day I retired. It started when she retired because I retired 3 years before she did. 3 years where the house had a rhythm that worked for me. I babysat my very young grandsons, just from infants on up. And I did it my way, enjoyed it, loved every minute of it. And when I wasn't babysitting, I stayed busy on my schedule, the office, the garage, hobbies. So I was home, but I wasn't in the way. And then my wife retired, which was really nice. And shortly after that, the grandsons started going to school all day, preschool, nursery school, kindergarten eventually. So now it's just the two of us here at home all day. Same rooms, same routines. And that's when I started asking a question I really didn't expect. Is this a little too much togetherness? Not because we don't love each other, we still do, but because we're trying to live in a new season with old habits, I guess. It's not that retirement changed our love, it changed the amount of togetherness we were trying to deal with. It's not big fights. Like I said, it's 100 tiny moments that can stack up. We'll be sitting there reading, house quiet, peaceful, and my finger starts tapping on the table. I don't even notice it. But then I get that look again. Really? The look that says, "I love you, but please stop it." It's their, the dirty glasses are another one. Not a crime, just, leaving my cup on the counter. I don't mean to, but it's like my brain goes, "Oh, you know what? I'll probably need this again in a few minutes." Of course, I forget about it. And then there's breakfast. Our kitchen is relatively small. I get up before she does, a few hours, fix a pot of coffee, head into my office here to do a little bit of work. And then an hour or two later, I'll hear her get up and be moving around, and I'll decide, oh, you know what? I think I'll go get some breakfast. And I'll walk into the kitchen to have some breakfast, perfectly innocent. And she's already in there making her cereal or whatever. Suddenly, we're both doing that awkward little shuffle like two shopping carts in a narrow aisle. No one gets really mad, just annoyed. You've been up for 2 hours. Why do you wait until I'm in the kitchen here to come in here? And I'm kind of like, no good answer, really. Never thought about it. And here's what all these moments have in common: they aren't about the tapping or the glass or the kitchen. They're about being close enough all day that nothing stays small for very long. Retirement friction isn't always a fight. Sometimes it's a kitchen shuffle or a paused TV and that look. The real discomfort isn't her being home. Uh, it's me not knowing my place. And and here's the part that's kind of hard to admit. I got used to retirement without her home all day, not because I wanted distance, but because I had a role. I was the babysitter, I had my projects, the garage, the office. And now the grandsons are in school all day and she's home. So when the house feels tight, my instinct is to retreat to my go-to spot, my office here. Working on YouTube videos or some other project. But if I'm honest, it's also where I feel competent. It's where I'm not tapping the table, not leaving the glasses out, not standing in the kitchen like a lost puppy. In my office, I'm not underfoot. And I think this is what I'm really wrestling with. Not is my wife sick of me, more like who am I in this house now when we're both here all day? Sometimes too much togetherness is really a man wondering where he fits. So what do I do with all this? I don't have a good answer, but I'm learning a better way to see it. Doesn't mean our marriage is broken. It means that we're adjusting. I had 3 years to form retirement habits. Now we're forming shared retirement habits later in the game. And that takes patience. It takes some humility. And this is the part I keep forgetting. It takes some space, not space as rejection, space as respect, because love doesn't have to be constant closeness to be real. Sometimes love is letting someone watch their show on TV without having to explain it every 5 minutes. And sometimes love is me noticing, oh man, I'm doing that tapping thing again. So it's just awareness and giving some space. So if you ever felt this, retired home all day thinking, good grief, we're together an awful lot, you're not alone and you're not a bad husband for noticing it. You're just adjusting to a new season where togetherness can be good and still be a little too much sometimes. Retirement is a gift, but too much togetherness, that's just something we have to learn how to deal with. But it's worth the effort. So thanks for watching. See you next time.